Hi, everybody, and welcome to the July 25th, 2024 edition of the KubeStellar Community Meeting. Welcome, everybody. This meeting is recorded for use on our YouTube TV channel. If you don't want to be recorded, either video or audio, you should turn your video off, turn your microphone off, or leave the call entirely. Thank you all for joining. Light attendance today. That's to be expected, I think. We're experiencing people going out on vacation, dropping like flies. So if you want to join us here on this call or any call in the future, go to kubestellar.io/join us. You can either say join us with an underscore or join us without the underscore. And then you'll get access to this agenda so that you can edit it and add your name to it if you should attend a meeting or want to add a topic to a meeting. You will also get regular invites to the meeting at that point. Okay, so you're welcome to suggest any discussion topics or place presentations on the agenda. And we do abide by a contributor code of conduct as set forth by the CNCF and the Linux Foundation. So I'll go ahead and read it here. As contributors and maintainers in the CNCF community and in the interest of fostering an open and welcoming community, we pledge to respect all people who contribute through reporting issues, posting feature requests, updating documentation, submitting pull requests or patches, and other activities. We are committed to making participation in the CNCF community a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of level of experience, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, personal appearance, body size, race and ethnicity, age, religion, or nationality. Basically, that just means, please, everybody, just be nice to each other. It'd be good for a change. You know what, Kevin, just to bounce something off you, that race and ethnicity, for some reason, those two words in succession, I trip over it every single time. I'm thinking about changing the order of it or something. I think I'm doing it now. Control C, Control V. I think I can do ethnicity, race. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to see if it happens next time. Oh boy. Okay, one of those days. So let's get started here. Yeah, if you're joining the call, please add your name to the list of folks on the attendees list, and we will get started. Kevin, I'm thinking today, since it's light, and we'll have a little bit of banter, maybe we go over the improvements to the doc site. Would you mind leading us through that at some point in this call?
Sure.
Okay, I'll get started, and I think the second bullet here will provide an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, we've in 0.14, our old major release, we've got this notion of having a create only bit turned on for the deployment of a workload. And what that allows you to do is to say, I want to create the workload, but I do not want to keep it consistent in the future. In other words, don't continue to overwrite this specific object. So that create only bit is something that's in the process of being implemented at the moment. It's a multi-phased implementation. So this is something that's being exercised by AI workload distribution with Kubeflow pipelines and other things in multi-cluster environments, and essentially just not overwriting the job. So once the job gets sent down, it's queued to start, and then if it finishes and says it's completed, KubeStellar can override it and say, hey, let's start this job again. And that's not such a good thing. So we have the notion of a create only bit. This will come in very handy for jobs as distributed into multi-cluster environments, Kubernetes clusters. Okay. Any comments or questions on create only bits? Okay. Next up, KubeStellar.io now has a unreleased-development version of documentation. This is used for development purposes, so opening issues against that documentation because it will be the latest and somewhat greatest. And PRs against that documentation are what's encouraged. You should not try to open up an issue or PR against the latest release, which is 0231, because it won't be the most current version of the documentation. Now for code, that will I believe that is also an unreleased development as well, so you will do that for the same, but it's more likely the case that you'll be making changes for unreleased development. Well, actually, unreleased development reflects main. Sorry. So if you're making changes to code, you would be making changes to main. If you're making changes to the most recent documentation, you're making changes to unreleased-development, which reflects the latest in main. Okay, let's see. So Kevin, do you want to give us a tour of the latest
Sure. Do
documentation
you
stuff?
want to point and click or do you want me to try and share? I have the ultra wide screen and it often
Right,
screws up the
understood.
browser.
I
So,
can do that. Go hold on a
okay.
second here. Oh, that's always good. That's a good way to start it, huh? So I'm going to KubeStellar.io, and I believe I'm probably in the wrong version here.
You are.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Okay. Now KubeStellar.io, should that be pointing at unreleased or at the current release, right? So that is correct, 23.1.
23.1 is still the current release.
Right.
So that's what it defaults to. There have actually, the changes to the landing page are very subtle.
Mhm.
You won't actually notice them really. First of all, every link now has alternative text. So if you hover over one of the menu items there at the top, and if you have help text turned on, it's showing down at the bottom.
Yeah.
If you have hover text turned on, it will actually give you hints on what that's about. There we go. You can see community access.
Oh, okay.
Same is true for images on the page. All of this is in the name of better accessibility for people using screen readers. You'll also notice that the buttons there for documentation and join us further down also have text below, making it clearer where those buttons lead you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I really do like this embellishment. This was a good ad.
Right. So you'll also notice up in the "You're not using the latest release" banner, it now includes the clarification that unreleased development corresponds directly to the main branch of the repository.
Right.
Many of the issues that were raised about the website had to do with friction generated by the fact it's a multi-version site. So a number of the changes in design are to make it clear where you are at any particular time. The other thing that has been changed on this page is its responsive layout. So if you shrink the window, it used to be that things started stacking on top of each other and you couldn't use the links anymore. So now you see things change shape, but nothing that is actually a link gets occluded anymore.
Yeah, it looks good.
That may be an ongoing battle because some of the things still do like to fly on top of each other, but nothing that is an actual active element, a link, gets covered up.
Good.
So if we go on in to documentation, some changes here. Right off, you'll see that below the selector there in the blue banner, there is a reminder that the site is multi-version. And so that it's just a reminder that if you're using a particular version of the code and trying to look things up, switch to that version of the website before you do. This overview has not been changed. What has been changed is the organization of the site slightly, in particular in the user guide area, because that was the other place of main confusion. So if we scroll back up to our main menu, you will see that, so the default is to land in what is KubeStellar, the architecture session. Getting started, go ahead and click on that, takes you into the user guide, because the getting started page is part of the user guide, but we know lots of people are going to want to find that right away. So that's why it has a link in the top, but we have changed the highlighting there on the left. So it's very obvious where you are. So you're in a particular part of the user guide called Getting Started. So if you just go to the user guide, it pops you into the guide overview instead. So the way that the side menu renders is built into MK Docs and Mike, the and the materials template that we're using for this page. So we have to have a name for whatever the default page is in a particular section. And we've chosen guide overview just to make it a little clearer what's going on. We also are now using multiple levels so that it's easier to find the part of the guide you want without having to look at 20 menu items in the left to start with.
Good.
But this will grow. And now that we have some structure we can hang things off of, the user guide will get more pages and have more chapter headings and be more complicated. But this basic structure of having sections of the guide with subchapters in it will continue to be used, so you can find things faster. And this
I gotta be honest with you. I like the way it works and interacts now with the user. I would love to, well, my guidance for the future would be to only add a page if it's absolutely necessary. In other words, I think there's just enough content here to generate curiosity. Everything else should be Slack or interactive until such point that there's some massive, like, we must address this through documentation. Until someone's begging us for doc on something, I don't think we should add anything more.
Well, this is modeled on the book you get with a new instrument. If you're in a, or where there's a getting started section, quick, and then there's the okay, how do I make it do all the things section? Yeah. So we're missing some of the things that everyone will want to do. We have placeholders in a few places, but for instance, there is not basic instructions on how to create and bind a workload yet. We have placeholders for it, but the instructions on how to do it are missing. So there's some critical elements that are still missing that we need.
Oh, is there? So where is that located?
So that would be in, yep, you just went past it. It would be in the workload execution cluster.
Oh.
So it would be in usage because it's,
okay.
And we don't have it yet. So it's missing.
Okay, so these are links these are pages that are just absolutely absent. So while somebody could install it, they wouldn't be able to use it for anything.
All we have are examples right now.
I see.
So the how do I do my own workload hasn't been written yet.
I see.
And once I get out of the current work crunch I have, that's something I'm going to keep failing to do and taking notes so we can write it. And I see Mike just arrived. Mike has been working really hard with me on making this user guide actually useful and have the information we need. I want to give him a big kudo for all the work he's been putting in on docs.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think I just wanted to give some heads up. There's some PRs that are floating around. Well, one that went through. So under contribution in the IFOS team, the folks that were here for the summer, they contribute back quite a bit in terms of not understanding how the documentation flowed, and we're giving some guidance as to what they would have expected and what they didn't want, like redundancy and so forth. I think a lot of that has been cleared up. A lot of the releases, the old releases, are now have been removed, and so I hope we continue to prune this as necessary and don't have too many of these releases laying out there. I would hope that we retire 0.14 by end of year. I know there's only one client that's using that now, and then continue to be vigilant about that. The other bits were many of the interns were able to not only open issues, but they also open PRs. And those PRs required them to do things like DCO sign off and have SSH keys so that they could clone the repository in such a way that would allow them to make updates to those and sign those and amend those commits. So that was a good contribution there. There's also a PR that's whittling its way through. I think it's here. Yeah. There's also a PR that's whittling its way through about a demo environment script, which I think is great. This is so everything that's detailed on the getting started is in one script here, and so there's a lot of discussion back and forth on how to accomplish this, but it overall, what's nice about this is it's unnecessary now to too funny. How does that heat keep happening? It's unnecessary now to have the step by step. I mean, of course, we encourage people to do this, but after they've done it once, if they should need to remove and restart, remove their environment and start over again, we'll have an end-to-end script that accomplishes the same bits here. So that's really cool. So I think that was a great contribution on their part, and I hope that gets done before too long. I don't want the folks that are involved in that to get discouraged from their um, leaving their contribution and actually getting it through to the point where it's available to others. So I would hope that that's the case. All right, good. Hey, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say this actually, and in working through it, it seems to me it does raise the prominence of an issue that we've kind of been bumbling along not doing, which is, you recall in the legacy system, we distributed executables. We've stopped doing that in the favor of curl to bash. This is more curl to bash that invokes now, for the first time, invokes other curl to bash. And I think we're getting to the point where this really ups the importance of going back to distributing executables. We might try to limp through introducing recursive curl to bash, but I do think this really raises the profile of the question of getting back to distributing executables.
What do you what do you mean by distributing executables?
I mean, this is a script that invokes other scripts,
Yes.
and for the sake of version consistency, right, we know it's a mistake to always have everything going to latest. You want everything to be versioned, and when things are versioned, you want things to be versioned consistently. So one version of this script invokes the corresponding version of another script. So now we have to be passing version numbers, not only in the invocation of the script, but in parameters to the script. And it can be done, but it's getting tedious. It's getting to the point where I think just distributing a set of executables is actually going to be an easier to consume solution than all the futzing around with versions.
Do you mean something that's kind of like a kind create cluster, but it would be a KubeStellar create environment?
No, I'm talking about something more mechanical, like saying in order to use KubeStellar, you have to, fetch and unpack this tar archive, or something, somehow install a set of executables. That's what I'm saying.
Hmm. I'm not exactly following you. I don't know. I think either way that even if you have a set of executables, you're still going to be coordinating and orchestrating them with a script. I understand your
Absolutely.
point
My point
about
is
passing
that,
around a version number. I get that. But if we're not going out and creating an executable that does everything for you, then I still see it as going to be a scriptable solution.
yes, I'm not denying scripts. My point is, once you can deal with getting consistent versions of the scripts invoking each other, by the time you deal with that, yeah, I think it becomes easier to distribute a collection of scripts rather than coordinate the versions of scripts that are invoking each other.
All right. I'm gonna have to table that because I don't fully understand it, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Maybe you can show us by demonstration what you mean at some point. Okay. All right. So Kevin, anything else you wanted to add there?
Nope. What Mike just raised, though, you might think of it in terms of you might have a super admin who does an install of KubeStellar, which would involve what Mike is describing, and then you have lower level users. So you don't want them pulling packages all the time. The super admin might want to control the version that's installed on that's being used by people. So I could see that as a scenario where we're having a tarball that you install, which then sets up your system at a particular level, so your multiple users aren't pulling different copies all the time. I could see that as a scenario. Is that something like you were thinking might happen, Mike?
Right. Yes.
I'm still not following, but I'm just gonna go along with it for now. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not tracking yet, but it happens. But I guess you guys will come up with something in your lab and show it off to us at some point. All right, cool. So we alluded to the all-in-one demo environment deployment script that's in PR form. Let's see if we can finish that up this week. That would be great. Just don't want to see that linger too long as a PR because then people get discouraged and walk away from it. Those folks are going back to school, so in September they will have very little limited time to work with us, if at all. So Benson's good people, and I'd like to see him get that notch on his belt. All right, performance testing. Go ahead, Braulio.
Sure. I have testing manually, so configure our controllers to be scraped by Prometheus and Pyroscope, as well as to create the Grafana graphs per se. Now I have created 2 scripts that I'm just testing. My goal is to open 2 PRs today. One script just to install the metrics, the tools, and the second one is to configure. Let's configure them to talk to to configure our controllers and Prometheus and Pyroscope to talk to our controllers, and also to create the right RBACs. Yeah, so the RBACs was the main challenge just on this configuration, because we have 2 different API servers, one from the host clusters and the second for the WS1. For example, just to give a scenario, our kubeproxy our KubeStellar controller is behind the kubeproxy array. kubeproxy are back, and as I was having challenge for Prometheus to scrape that RBAC, but in the end I found out that the kubectl RBAC was not configured. They didn't have its RBAC properly configured to talk with the close API server, and yeah, so yeah, now I have done it manually in a cluster. Now I have the scripts done to test it so that we can do that at scale in our experiments, and also I'm gonna have a set up a meeting with Mike so to discuss more about this. Mike, I send you an invitation. So if please contact if that doesn't work well for your schedule. So yeah, that's all I want to share.
Thank you, Braulio. Any questions for Braulio? Okay. All right, moving on. Oh, you know what I meant to ask Braulio? What are your plans for exposing the information that you're gathering on a somewhat regular basis? In other words, it would seem feasible to me that you would produce a report on some ongoing basis that could be exported or used or written to a directory in the documentation that could then be exposed.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yes, definitely. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I was looking at, and some of the ways that we can compete with others that are in the same space as we are, is there's a couple of different ways, right? It's not limited to this, but one is the expressing how we've done some level or degree of testing that has given us the ability to rise above what others make available to their users, but in a way that's consumable, right? So we don't want to scare people away, but at the same time, we want to give people the assurance that we've tested this to the nth degree and that we're assured that it will perform as we expect it to, and as they should require. So that's one. Two is, I've been thinking more about the possibility of including secure workload distribution facilities. So I've been thinking a lot more about supply chain issues with delivery of workloads specifically for AI. And in doing so, you'll note that there are typically what they call bill of materials that are attached with many of the different artifacts that you find online, such as services, software, hardware, infrastructure. They all have some form of bill of materials, which explains not only what's included in the manifest, but what its characteristics are in terms of its integrity. And I think that it would be interesting to include some form of BOM with our workload distributions to ensure the integrity of the solution as it's transferred from our hub to its final executing place, the WEC. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I'm a fan of building with Co. Co does have built-in support for including a couple of different standard forms of BOM. We have tended to not enable that or to disable it,
Yeah.
but I think there's been no real need to not have it disabled. So I think we easily could consistently build with Co and include the BOM. If I recall, there is a choice of format. So if anybody has any wisdom about which would be the preferred format, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Mike, we've ascribed or subscribed at times to what's called FOSSA or FOSA. And this is they have recommendations, or they even have a widget that you can install, put on your site. I had this very early on, and when we were going for Sandbox, and I'd included this. And while it's not loading right now, I've noticed lately Safari is really slow. But the little widget that you put on your site says, you've got compliance with one either a set of regulations, one regulation or the other, or at a minimum, supply a BOM. And so it would be interesting for us not only to supply a BOM for our own good, but also to support the delivery of BOMs or the placement of BOMs along with workloads inside of our own environments. So what I mean by that is that you could say that a workload must include, right, when you deploy it into um, one of our workload execution clusters, or into one of our WDSs, I'm sorry, it should include a BOM before it's then sent along to some other. So you might have something like that. Maybe it's a requirement. There might be other things that say that, the BOM must be scanned for compliance with a certain XYZ regulatory system or something of that nature, or it must pass compliance checks, or it must have a BOM. So I was thinking more about that. I think that might be one of the ways that we can. It wouldn't take much, I don't think, for us to support that, and then that might be something that is a differentiator that others might approve, and it also opens us up to people that are working in the compliance industry to take a closer look at what we do, and potentially they could be the forefront of what brings people into the world of multi-clusters controls. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for letting me have that verbal diarrhea there. All right, cool. So let's move on. So we've got summarization work still in progress, combined status. I still see that getting ping pong back and forth. I don't know if there's any updates here on this call. Anybody here want to give us an update on that? Okay.
Well, I was waiting for Maroon, giving him a chance, but I guess he's not on the call. So I will speak to what I know. I think we're close. I think the one of the important parts of the API and functionality is still not there. which is augmentation with information about the propagation. I think that is still to be done. I think, and there are some PRs in progress. I think on testing, I think there's improvements in the code that could be made, but that's not critical for getting the functionality out the door. So that's where I think it's at.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Okay, I don't think there's anything new on KFP right now. Paulo did have a blog post that went out. Just see if I can grab that and pull that in. Getting it now. Please wait. Copy link. Okay, so new blog post. Let's put that in there. And it's on AI workflow multi-cluster Kubeflow pipelines. Okay. All right. Update on IFOS. Team has finished their work. I think they did a great job this summer, and they gave us a lot of a lot of guidelines and suggestions around documentation, what we should include, what we shouldn't include. Even more importantly, they did some good work towards the end on putting up some guidance around SSH and GPG doc sign-off stuff, and they were able to put that in our contributors guide, which is great. And they even went so far as to create an end-to-end script that builds out a demo environment. So all that stuff's good. I think I hope to see members of, I know I have members from Valencia joining us again in the fall, new ones, 2 to 3 of those. We have a couple from Georgia Tech. I think it will be advertised and potentially we get more from there. And I'm looking for Rensselaer, so RPI will be another target program. I'll be presenting to them probably towards the end of August or beginning of August. And so keep your eyes open. There'll be a new round of interns starting in September. Okay. Updates. So on presentations and conferences. So I'll be traveling to Washington, D.C. to do a lightning talk for KCD, a KubeCon day. And it's actually 2 days worth of curriculum or programming. And the one that I'll be giving information on is Blue-Green Canary deployments using KubeStellar. KubeCon North America, we have about a dozen talks that are scheduled or queued or submitted right now as CFPs. We're waiting for answers on those. We should get those on or about August 12th. And so there's some good work there. And one thing that's nice about the conferences and the CFPs we've submitted in many cases, we've submitted one for the main conference and one for the pre-conference for the same topic. The hope is that we have double the audience for any given talk. IBM is a gold sponsor. Red Hat is a diamond sponsor. So I don't think we'll be hindered by limitations for submitting talks. We should be, I think the idea that we've given this full court press should be some kind of awareness to the folks there that we're serious and we want to be recognized. So in addition to this, we've also got, I've also put in for Project Pavilion time and also technical discussions tables at the Project Pavilion and a lightning talk. So, you know, we have multiple different places where we're looking to get ourselves involved in the discussion at KubeCon. And I hope that many of us wind up going and we can all then bring back good information about what people are looking for and maybe some new directions for where we should go next. All right, that about does it for what I have. Anybody else that would like to talk at this point? Open it up to the floor. Anything new on your minds or would like to discuss? June, anything you'd like to share with us? I know you didn't get a chance to talk today.
No, not really too much stuff to share today.
Okay. All right, folks, I'll go ahead and post this when the recording winds up in my mailbox, and I look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks' time. I'll be on vacation, but I will be phoning this one in. Everybody have a good time, and I hope you enjoy your break if you're about to go on one yourself. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.